Hello, hello! So, welcome back. This is True Summer Knits. I'm Maddie. Nice to see ya. It has been a little while since my last podcast episode, which I didn't really mean to do. I know I wanted to come out with episodes closer together, actually, but 5 days ago I did release my 2024 summer plans video, which took me a little bit of time because I wanted to compile everything, and those kind of videos take a little longer to edit because you've got a lot more pictures and things to show, as opposed to the podcast episodes, which kind of require minimal editing. So if you're interested in my summer plans, please go check that video out. But today we are back with podcast episode number 4, which is very exciting. I feel like I really haven't been doing YouTube videos that long, and I think this will be my 6th video total, which I'm really excited about. I've really been grateful for the response that people give to my videos, especially my color seasons video, and I really enjoy making them and sharing them. So if you're here watching, thank you very much. But today I am going to talk about my knitting. Of course, it's a knitting podcast. I don't really have any finished objects. I'm working on a few different things, and especially when you're working on summer tops and light gauge objects, it takes longer. So I always get nervous before filming these if I don't have a finished object. I'm like, are people even gonna care? Do people even want to watch this if I don't have a finished object? But I feel like that's a toxic mindset. So we are going to try to diminish those thoughts, and we are just going to talk about what I've got going on, and it'll be relaxed, it'll be easy, it'll be fun. Alright, let's get started. So, first on the agenda today is actually a sort of finished object. It's a complete sock and then about half of the other sock. So that's what I'm going to talk about first. It's also an acquisition of sorts because I did not have this yarn in the last episode. So I'll tell you first about the yarn and then I'll get into the sock. So this yarn is Valley Yarns Charlemont. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It is such a nice, beautiful sock yarn. I honestly want to make a sweater out of this. It feels so nice. I got this from yarn.com. The composition is it's 60% merino wool, 20% silk, and 20% polyamide. It feels amazing. I posted this picture on my story just about how it shimmers in the sun. It's like the real mulberry silk, not the raw silk. So it's so soft and amazing. I know some people are wary of soft sock yarns. That's all I want to use. I don't want to use rustic sock yarns or rough feeling socks. I don't care if they wear down a little faster. I just don't want them if they're not soft and nice. But yeah, so this comes in a hank. I already wound it up, and the color is thistle. It's described as this gray purple, which I definitely think it is, but I also feel in real life it pulls a little bit more blue. It's not as lavender as I thought it would be, but it's still a really beautiful color and I love it. I want to use this sock yarn more. They don't have a ton of colors, and some of their colors seem to skew a little darker, which for me, I want to knit. Oh, there's Noelle. She's getting up and stretching. Say hi. She just take a nap. Alright, go back to doing what you're doing. Anyway, where was I? Oh, I was talking about the colors of this yarn before Noelle distracted me. It does have some really nice colors that are in my palette, but I'm worried because some of them seem to be a little darker, and to be honest, yarn.com is not the best at accurately depicting the colors necessarily that their yarn is going to be within the photos. So some of them I worry that they might be too dark for the kind of socks I like to knit, which is of course lacy textured socks, thank you, or cables. I'm never going to knit a vanilla sock, probably in my life. Maybe I'll eat my words someday, but as of right now, I literally could not imagine doing anything like that. That sounds so boring. Ever since I discovered lace knitting, I don't want to ever knit anything stockinette again, which sucks because there's tons of projects I want to have, that are stockinette, but the process of knitting stockinette just bores me so much. Like, I don't want to do it, but it's a necessary evil. I'm going to. I really keep getting off topic here. This sock. It is the At the Vicarage sock by, can you guess who? This Handmade Life, my favorite sock designer. She is wonderful. I'm her biggest fan. Call me. This is a beautiful lace sock pattern. It's not blocked, so the lace is not going to fully, show here, and the top cuff looks a little weird. This was actually a really interesting experience for me because in the past I've only knitted cuff down socks, and I'll tell you why, and that's something I actually wanted to touch on a little bit in today's video because I feel like I've made some progress in my views on knitting and like my preferences. So I only knit cuff down socks before because all of the knitting influencers I watched, their opinion was that cuff down socks were the best and that knitting toe up socks kind of sucked. And it made me realize, like, while I knitted this, that I have become, or I let myself be so reliant on the opinions of these YouTubers that I like, and I just felt like their words were gospel. Like, I didn't mean to think that, but if I liked their work, I liked their thoughts on things, I would just naturally assume, like, oh, any opinion they have, I'm also going to have. That applied to things like not liking superwash yarn or liking mohair or certain yarn brands. I do love knitting for Olive, but like I started liking them because other YouTubers I watched loved it so much. And I've discovered I really love superwash yarn. I don't really like mohair, and I really enjoyed knitting the sock toe up. I think it was a much more enjoyable experience for me. Like, the only thing I understand is that the bind off for this sock, I did a sewn bind off because that's what I recommended in the pattern, and I know the big thing with toe up socks is everyone says they can't figure out the bind off. Now, I have no problem with this bind off being stretchy. This fits me amazingly, but it kind of looks like shit, to be honest. I think at this really tight gauge with twisted rib, it's hard to get the sewn bind off to look really nice. So I'm about this much into the second sock. I think I only have like 10 more rows before I start making the heel. So I think I'm going to experiment with a different bind off on this sock because like it's not really that big of a deal, just to see which I like better. Like, I know everyone talks about the Jenny surprisingly stretchy bind off, which I considered using for this first sock, but I was a little nervous because it makes me nervous doing any kind of bind off where you it's like knit one, like you knit something and you pull the next stitch over, like that kind of bind off. I know it's supposed to be stretchy, the surprisingly stretchy one is, but it still made me a little nervous, and I'm used to doing sewn bind offs and I know they're stretchy, so I just thought I would do that. But I really just don't like the way it looks. I know it's going to look better when I block it, but even when I wear it, let me take the sock off so I can show you how it flares. You can even see the flare and like the wrinkliness on the sock blocker, but it's pretty apparent when it's not on the sock blocker, and you can also sort of see it when it's on my foot. I'm going to insert a little clip of it on my foot just so you can see it like worn. I'm going to be very careful taking that clip because it feels weird to take a video of my feet and put it on the internet. But so when it's off, it's just like kind of all floppy and loose and looks kind of uneven. It's not nearly as bad when it's worn, but still, it doesn't look as nice as I'd want it to. So I get that point when it comes to knitting toe-up socks. But in terms of the actual knitting experience, this was so nice. And it's the reason I went right into knitting the second sock. Like, if you've been watching my videos, you may recall that I recently completed another sock, a singular sock. And I really liked the pattern, I really liked the yarn, but when it came to casting on the second sock, I started it, and then I kept like messing up because I kept putting it down and picking it back up and forgetting where I was, and I just like never felt like doing it, and I wanted just to cast on a new one. And I think a big reason why I don't enjoy knitting cuff down socks as much is because I hate casting on like the 64 or 60 stitches, like whichever one I'm doing, and then immediately going into rib, like twisted rib especially, because that's what I like on my socks. It's just so annoying. Until you're a few rows in, it's really annoying. Like, you have to cast on those stitches and they're tiny, and you have to make sure you do magic loop and make sure you don't twist them, which is so hard because they're so tiny and there's like a smaller amount. So I end up having to start over a couple times just to make sure it looks all even. And then once you start knitting twisted rib with just cast on edges, like all the stitches are so tight that it's hard to get really in there for the first couple of rounds. And it's just so slow, and like all I want to do is start knitting the lace and like get into like the fun part of the sock. And I just really hate casting them on and starting them like that. So I was kind of resigned to doing that, you know, because because like I said, I watch these videos, I assume that I'm going to have the same opinion as everybody else, that cuff down is better. And I was actually like kind of afraid to knit this sock pattern because it was toe up. Like, I was looking at her patterns and a lot of them are cuff down, but some of the ones I really like are toe up. So I was like, should I even do this? I even contemplated converting the pattern from toe up to cuff down, but I wasn't really sure about reversing the lace pattern or how that would work. I got like conflicting reports when I looked up how to do it. But after the fact, I actually read some Ravelry project pages and found out that I could have just done the lace pattern upside down for this particular pattern. But I'm really glad I didn't, and I'm really glad I did it toe up, because now I feel like I can knit any sock pattern I want to. I do kind of prefer toe up, but I know I can knit cuff down just fine. Once I get past the ribbed cuff, it's like easy from there. So I feel like I have a lot more patterns at my disposal now. But when you start like a toe up sock like this, what did she call the cast on? The cast on was a Turkish cast on. It's kind of similar to like some other provisional type cast ons that I've seen, but basically where are my needles? I'll just kind of demonstrate for you. So you would put like a slip knot on this bottom needle here, and then you would put these two needles on top of each other with the slip knot on the bottom. My needle is kind of bent, they're so small. And then you basically wrap around the needles the number of stitches that you're wanting to cast on. So you do that, and then you pull the bottom needle out and you start knitting into those stitches, and then it's basically like a really tiny tube in the round, but the bottom's already connected. So there's at no point is there any grafting, which is really nice, because I also feel like when I graft my toes on cuff down socks, I'm like not very good at it. Like I can do it, I just don't think it looks very neat. And the bottom of this toe looks so nice. It looks like seamless. Let me like pull it out so you can see. It's just really nice looking. And then you just do increases for the toe, and then you are right into the lace pattern. And it's just so satisfying to knit it like that. So yeah, I've discovered I really like knitting toe up socks. As for the actual pattern, it is this really beautiful, let's flatten it out so you can see. It's this really beautiful lace pattern. It's very simple actually. It's not complicated at all. It's just made up of yarn overs, and then you have like these sort of decreases that lean different ways, and it looks so nice. It'll look a lot nicer when I block it. I know that, like right now it kind of looks a little uneven and scrunched up, but you can't even tell when I'm wearing it. It looks super nice. And I did an anklet version. I've seen a lot of socks where as soon as you get past the gusset increases, you start doing the cuff. I talked a lot about like my plans for knitting anklet socks in my last video, because I really want to just like wear white sneakers and have like a nice amount of the lace peeking out in the cuff, but like not too much that they're long. So I did, I think, 2 like full repeats after I knitted the gusset increases in the short row heel, and then I went into the cuff, which I hate the bind off. You can't really tell when it's on the foot, but man, like it makes me feel like kind of embarrassed to even show this. So hopefully the surprisingly stretchy bind-off goes better. Or if you know any other bind-offs for top socks that you think are nicer or look nicer, let me know, because I definitely am down to experiment. But yeah, the pattern is great. I knit this on 2.25 millimeter needles. I'm pretty close to getting to the heel for the second sock, so I think, I only started this like yesterday, like the second one, so I think I'll get done with it pretty quick. I feel like the second sock is always so much quicker because you kind of know what you're doing by then. I love the yarn, I love the pattern, I love the designer, and I'm really happy with these. So I definitely recommend both of them, and I really am excited to have this finished pair of socks. So that is everything for my sort of finished object. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about is a project that I started since the last episode, and I decided to abandon. Now me abandoning this project had nothing to do with the pattern. It was all to do with the yarn that I chose. And this is another pair of socks that I began before I started these ones, and I just hated the yarn so much that I just yanked my needles out and just stopped using it. You might remember this yarn. It's actually a little bit of a callback from my last episode where I talked about the ball winding incident, in which my husband and I tried winding up a ball of yarn while drinking wine and like just completely destroyed the winder and like had to keep cutting up the yarn. So that's what this is. This is like the crappy hand wound ball. This yarn, it's not a bad yarn. I just don't like it. It's not the kind of yarn I like. First of all, it was kind of a gamble because I just decided to experiment with variegated yarns. And this is very lightly variegated. It's just like different shades of light blue and like some white. But I hate it. I just, nope, never doing that again. No variegated yarns for me. It's just not what I like. But anyway, this is the Knit Picks Hawthorne in the shade Wisp Kettle. And that's actually a correction. I think in my last episode when I received this yarn, I called it like wisteria. That's not what this is. This is Wisp Kettle. And it's a rougher, sturdier sock yarn. I think it's just 75% wool, 25% nylon. But it's not merino. It's a little sturdier. And I don't know if you'll be able to see the spin on this. It has this very pronounced spin. It's hard to describe. Like you can clearly see the two strands wound around each other. See if you can tell a little better on here. I feel like you can sort of see it. And it just makes this very like stiff, sturdy fabric. And I will show you the corpse of this sock that I started knitting. So this is another sock pattern by This Handmade Life. It's a lace sock pattern, and first of all, that was a big reason why I stopped, because you cannot see this lace like at all. Like especially with this variegated yarn, I thought maybe since it was lightly variegated, it wouldn't be a big deal, but you can't see it at all. And this sturdy kind of sock yarn, I feel like doesn't look very nice with this kind of lace, because it just looks like, I don't know, I feel like soft yarn and lace patterns just kind of go together in this way, but this just looks like crappy to me. I just didn't like the way the yarn looked. I hate the way it feels. It's so like stiff, and I just knew I wouldn't like the way it feels against my feet. So instead of wasting my time, even though it would have been quick, because I did these as like true ankle socks, I just abandoned them. And I still have the pattern. I love the pattern. I think it's so cute. But after having started it and like being unhappy with the yarn, I didn't feel like repeating that pattern right away. So that's why I just did the at the vicarage socks instead. But I definitely do want to complete these socks at some point this summer. But yeah, the yarn, it's just not for me. So now I've got like 100 grams of this that I am never going to use. Like I said, there's nothing, it's not like poor, like bad yarn. I just don't like this kind of yarn for like multiple reasons. So it's abandoned. It's not going to get picked up again. I don't know what I'm going to do with the yarn. I might just donate it or something to the thrift store, because it's just not for me. And I'm glad I tried it. So now I know I have no desire to knit or use variegated yarn. So it was a good experiment, and I'm glad I got pretty quick in there when I realized that. Like, I'm glad I didn't knit an entire sock and take like a couple of days and then just be like, ugh, I hate this, you know? So it could have been worse. But yeah, that's my abandoned project of the episode. So, for my works in progress, I have 2 garment projects that I'm working on, but only one that I'm seriously working on. And I'll just briefly touch on the one that I've kind of put away for now. It's not stopped, I just want to finish my other project before I start working on it again. And that project is my April cardigan by Petite Knit. I definitely have progress on this since the last episode, but ever since I started my other project, I haven't really worked on it. I've got a lot of this first sleeve done. A good amount. I don't even have that much more. This is knitted out of Cardiff cashmere in the shade Muji, and you know what? This color looks great on me. So I am really excited to have it. It's just a stockinette project. Like, I have really not much desire to sit down and just do stockinette. Like, especially when I have this really exciting lace pattern on the needles. This is just something where I want the product, you know? And I thought having this really nice Cardiff cashmere yarn to work with would kind of, like, you know, supersede the feelings of just kind of being bored by the stockinette. But it doesn't. Like, the yarn is amazing and it's going to feel so nice to have, but just doing the stockinette, like, once I got past the saddle shoulder and the raglan, which was somewhat stimulating, you know, it was just kind of boring. And I started my other top, and that's just kind of all I want to work on. I definitely want to sit down and finish this after I finish my next top. Like, I'm going to try to get at least a good amount of it done before I allow myself to cast on something new. But it's just stockinette. It's just boring me right now. It's not inspiring me at all. But the pattern's great. It's gonna look really cute. I decided to work on the sleeves first, just because I like the feeling. Oh my gosh, I'm so tangled right now. I like the feeling of, like, having finished sleeves, and then once I knit the body, all I have left to do is, like, the button band and the finishing, and then I'm done. You know, I feel like in the past when I've knitted things where I do the body first, it feels like a big accomplishment, but then I go back and I have to do the sleeves, and I like the feeling better of just when I finish the body and I'm, like, pretty much done. You know what I mean? I'm doing the double knit button band, so I am gonna have a lot of knitting to do when I finish the body of this, but still, you get what I mean. And now that I'm talking about it, I do feel a little bit more excited to knit it. It's good for, like, movie knitting. It's just, it makes knitting a little less fun when I just sit there and do stockinette, at least for right now. I'm just so inspired by lace right now, and that's really just what I want to work on. So this is gonna get done this summer. I really want it. I really want to wear it with my Kareem granite camisole. It's not the most exciting thing I have right now, and I've got other things I'm prioritizing. So that's that. The other garment project I'm working on, I've actually got a lot done since I last saw you guys, but it's been put on hold for the last few days because I just want to go ahead and finish this pair of socks. But I think I'm going to finish this sock in like a day or two. And once that's done, I'm going full speed ahead on this top. This is the most fun knit ever. So exciting and stimulating. This is the Barbro top by Pernilla Larson from Knitting for Olive. Now, it's going to look a little strange while it's not blocked because it's lace and it has a scalloped hem. But this is the most beautiful lace pattern ever. So much fun to knit. Look at it. I'm just going to let you just take in that glory for a minute there. And oh my god, even just picking this up makes me just want to put down that sock and just keep working on this. So this is a tank top done in this beautiful like shell lace pattern. It's knitted bottom up, so this is the bottom, and It's got a scalloped edge, but it's hard for you to see because until I block it, it's gonna curl up like this. But let me see if I can kind of flatten it out, sort of, for you to see. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. It's basically like that. It's like this scalloped edge it's made by, like, I was wondering how it was gonna work when I started knitting it, because I've only ever seen scallops done from like the top down, where you basically kind of do like short rows, and I could tell that wasn't how it was gonna be here. But it's actually, you just cast on like a line, and then it's made of like, you would decrease in these rows, sort of. So like this row is shorter and this row is longer, if that makes sense. And it just ends up being that scalloped hem. It really doesn't like take that much, like it's not really much shaping like you would think it would be. The lace pattern is really intuitive. I'm gonna have to look at it again once I start it up, just because it's been a while, but it's really easy to memorize. It's really beautiful. It's fun. I enjoy the bottom-up construction of this, because you do just get to get right into the lace. Like, I do feel like if you started this with the straps and you're like trying to juggle the lace pattern because you're just starting it and you have to do all the shaping, it'd be a little difficult. But I really am excited to finish this. It's taking me like a while, although I haven't worked on it since like Friday, and today is Wednesday, just because I've been working on the socks. But I am so obsessed with this. This, by the way, is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the shade Haze. This pure silk is literally made for this kind of project. Like, I made a mistake by choosing pure silk for the camisole number 9, just because it was plain stockinette, but this lace, that is where this kind of yarn shines. I talked about this a lot in my summer plans episode. I'm obsessed with lace, texture, cables. Every summer top I plan on knitting this summer, however many I can get done, it's all going to be lace and cables. So you should definitely watch that episode just to see the kind of patterns that I'm inspired by this summer. But yeah, that's kind of all there is to say about it right now, just because it's just the same pattern in a circle for a while. This is how much yarn I have left of the first ball. So all of this was done with just one ball of yarn, and I think I'm supposed to get to maybe maybe like 11 or 12 inches of just this before I start doing the shaping. So I think, because I want it to end like right around here, so I'm pretty much like halfway through. I just have to get past my boobs, and then we'll start shaping the armholes. And I have a feeling that'll be pretty quick, because it's already fun to do like the lace pattern, and then it'll be even more fun to like get to do all the shaping. So I know once I get to that part, I'm just gonna fly through it. But hopefully I have most of it done by the next episode, or maybe even fully done. Once I finish this sock, it's gonna be full steam ahead on this baby, and I'm so excited to have it. Kind of looks a little whitish in this camera, but it really is like this silvery gray, and I just think it's gonna fit perfectly in my wardrobe. I cannot wait to have it. I think it would also look good with this April cardigan. So yeah, that is my very exciting Barbro top that I have on the needles. I'm knitting this, by the way, in 2.75mm needles. I'll let you get one more good look at it, bask in its glory. Wonderful. And then I've just got a few acquisitions to talk about, and then we're done for the day. So, first acquisition, very exciting. I talked about this, I showed this on my Instagram stories, what I'm trying to say, and I mentioned that I was going to be receiving this yarn in my summer plans video. So I am going to be rehashing that a little bit, but if you don't know, I love Knitting for Olive. I've wanted to try their cotton merino for so long, but all their colors were out of stock, except for a few, and the colors they had kind of sucked. So they recently, since my last episode, announced that they were coming out with 26 colors. Some of them were old and some of them were new, and they teased some of them. And there were 2 colors that really, really excited me. So literally, like the moment that they released the cotton merino back on their website, I went and bought summer top quantities of these 2 colors, plus another one that I was wanting to try. And that's what I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk about. So, the first color that I received is Blueberry Ice Cream It is so beautiful. And can I say, first of all, I was not sure how this yarn would feel, because I'm used to like cotton yarn feeling very much like cotton. If you aren't aware of this yarn, it's a 70% cotton, 30% merino wool blend. It feels so similar to their regular merino. Like, it's obviously less plump, but I feel like sometimes if you see cotton, it can look like cotton. This really just does look just like their merino strand. It's softer than their regular merino, honestly. Like, I definitely want to use their cotton merino in the winter to make some sweaters, just because it just feels so nice. I get hot and I live in a hot climate, so I feel like slightly less warmer yarn will work better for me. And it's supposed to have like the elasticity, so I just think this is like the perfect yarn, and I hope one day they release even more colors. There's so many merino colors that I would love to have in my wardrobe. So yeah, blueberry ice cream. It's this bluish purple color, like a lilac color. It is very similar to this yarn color. They look almost identical on camera. They're not. This is bluer, this is purpler and lighter, but still absolutely beautiful. And I talked about this in my summer plans, and I mentioned one pattern that I was thinking of using it for, but now that I see this in person, I know, I just see it. I know what this yarn is meant to be, and it's a pattern I wasn't even like 100% convinced that I was going to make this summer. This is going to become the Alana camisole. I'll put the designer's name up because I forgot who designed it, but I can just see it in this. It is meant to be this. I've never done cables before, so this will be my first cabling experience. And this yarn is just so lovely that I don't even mind like working with it for a while. I'm so excited. After I finish the Barbro top and I get a lot more done on the April cardigan, this is going to be my next like garment cast on. But I'm not allowing myself to do it yet because I've got other things I want to finish, and I just know if I cast something on with this, I will get so excited about it that everything else will get pushed to the side, and this is all I will work on. So I have to finish my Barbro top, and I have to get like a good amount done on my April cardigan, but then this is going to become an Alana camisole. I might let myself swatch the cables with it. I might, but I don't trust myself, and I feel like if I do that, I will just end up just casting it on and just saying screw it. So I don't know about that, but the yarn is beautiful. It feels amazing. My husband, I made him feel the merino and the cotton merino next to each other, and he preferred this. He also felt like it just felt so smooth and soft, and it just doesn't feel like cottony. It does a little bit, but it really feels so similar to the merino, and I'm obsessed with it. Knitting for Olive, I talk to you in every one of these episodes. I always talk to you. Please come out with more colors. Just come out with so many more colors. Everyone, go buy cotton merino so that we can tell Knitting for Olive how much we love this yarn, because there's just not enough colors for me. But yeah, blueberry ice cream. Now I got two other colors. The next one is one I'm also super excited about. By the way, I got 3 balls of all 3 of these colors, which is plenty for like a summer top. This is Japanese anenome. Do you see how cute this is gonna look on me? Oh, it's so beautiful. It's this beautiful, cool pink, which I've talked before about how I don't like Knitting for Olive's pinks in the past because they're all way too warm for me. This is perfect for me. I would love for them to come out with like a cool mauve color too while they're at it, but still, we're making good progress. I also really would love for them to come out with matching like silk mohair or like a compatible cashmere. I mentioned before that I don't love silk mohair in terms of I want to use it with everything, but for like a sweater I could definitely use it as long as it's with like another yarn. But yes, this is such a beautiful color. I don't know yet what exactly I'm going to do with it. I mean, it's going to be a while before I could be able to get to this yarn, because like I said, I want to finish my other lace top. I want to cast on and complete the Alana camisole with the blueberry ice cream yarn. So there's multiple patterns that I mentioned in my last video that this could become, and I don't feel like 100% sold that this has to be some certain project just yet. but super happy with this yarn, this color, and I am excited to have something in this color in my wardrobe. So, the last color I got, this was very experimental. I really was not sure if I was going to like it. The color I wanted it to be, I think I would like that color. Basically, I wanted this to be this pale, cool yellow, because that's actually in my True Summer palette, and I know that the specific color in my palette would look good on me, but it's hard to get like yarn in this exact color, and also it's hard to know if the shade is going to be exactly right when you buy it. So if you don't know Knitting for Olive, you haven't figured it out, the shade I bought was Dusty Banana, which I feel like, looking at it in this camera, I think it would look good on me, but it's just still not exactly what I want. It's hard to see, but in real life it almost has this greenish, brownish undertone to it that is just not really what I wanted it to be. I think I could knit something in this and it would look okay, but that's just not what I want. Like, I wanted it to be this exact shade, and I knew it was going to be a gamble when I bought it. So I think once I get around to wanting to use more cotton merino, I think I might experiment with dyeing it myself. It'd be difficult because I wouldn't want like a variegated color. I would want it to be like exactly one shade, and I'm not sure how it works in terms of, like, this is not white, so I'm not sure exactly what colors I would be able to achieve with this base color. If anyone knows about color theory and can tell me like the best way to get like certain blues, purples, or pinks out of this, let me know. I could even try to do like a cool green if I could do that. I'm just not sure, but I've got a while before I would even get around to thinking about using this yarn, so I've got time. My husband actually said he really loved this color, and I thought about finding something to make for him with it, but I have 3 balls of it, and even though my husband's like skinny, I don't think there's anything I could make for him in this, without buying more yarn. I also couldn't find any tee patterns or anything for men that had like this light gauge. I found one that had a sport weight gauge, but I definitely don't have enough yarn. I have to buy at least I have to buy a couple more balls of it to do that, and I just don't really feel like doing that. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed with this one. It's not Knitting for Olive's fault, just the color wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be. But yeah, those are all my acquisitions from Knitting for Olive. There's one more knitting related thing I want to show, and that is actually a new project bag that I got. I had already ordered this like back in my last podcast episode, but it came in like right after. It's really beautiful, and I want to talk about it for a second. So this project bag, I'll show it to you real quick. It is a beautiful canvas bag. It's a drawstring bag. It's similar, it reminds me of Petite Knit's project bags, and when I was looking for one of these, I actually first considered getting hers because I do like her blue flowers ones, but they were out of stock. So I went searching on Etsy, and I found this brand, and this is the one I ended up getting. I think it's the large project bag, but they have so many other beautiful designs, like tons of them, and I cannot recommend them enough. It's lined. I've got some stuff in it, but I'll show you the inside as best I can. It's got like multiple, this is really hard to show. It's just basically, it's got these multiple side pockets in which, like, with different sizes, so you can put in like your notions and stuff. I think she also sells like smaller notion bags too that you could like get in matching prints. And it's just so nice. I think the outer might actually, I can't tell if it's like a canvas fabric or just like some kind of linen. It might just be a printed muslin, I'm not sure, but it's so amazing. I don't remember the exact shop's name. I'm gonna put it right here real quick, but the tag says knitterbag.com. I feel like that's not the shop's name, but I can't tell you for sure. So yeah, that's just a little quick acquisition, but I'm obsessed with this bag. I do wish it it was easier to put on my shoulders. Like, I wonder if there's some kind of longer drawstring I could make in which I could just loop it and hook it over my shoulder and kind of make it look like it's meant to be worn like that, you know? But that's just a small complaint. It also has this little handle for like easier carrying, but it's just not really like intuitive for me to like carry a bag like this. So I don't really use it like that. But yeah, I definitely recommend this shop. I'll link it in the description. She doesn't know that I make this video or anything. She even sent like a little handwritten note whenever I bought it, so that was really sweet. So if you're looking for a project bag similar to the petite knit ones, check them out. I'm trying to think. I think that is everything knitting-wise that I have to talk about today. In terms of like my upcoming plans, I really am determined to finally make that sewing project vlog I talked about. I really wanted to get back into sewing. Like, before I started knitting, sewing was my passion. Like, I did it hours, like every day. I tried, like, I worked so hard to get better at it every single day. I loved it. I even actually made the reception dress I wore to my wedding. I'll quickly insert a picture of me partying in it. But yeah, since I started really diving into knitting, I haven't done it in a while. And I would love to have a balance where I do both. But I have some dresses I really want to make. I showed you all that fabric I got. I really want to use it. So hopefully that is my next video, like other than my podcasts. Because I really do want to do a whole video showing like me making a dress and just kind of walking you through it and getting to like show my process. So that was a little tangent, but I'm really hoping I can come out with that video soon. But other than that, that is all I have to talk about. This was fun. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, whatever, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.